Good evening. Welcome to Love Talk. My name is Gregory Morgan, and what I wanted to talk to you about today is actually the CD set. You can move your life forward. Jung said people marry their subconscious, and then they work out the things in their subconscious mind with their conscious mind. And I believe there's a lot of truth to that. I believe that we are instinctively drawn to the people who will bring about in us the most change by bringing up in us those things that we wish to heal and grow and become more conscious and aware of. So the 12 stages of romantic relationship, it's a pathway, it's a map for being able to learn how to choose a mate. When somebody is qualified for being married, how to find out when you're qualified for being married. It's a guide to creating deep and fulfilling romantic relationships. Relationships that actually transform life. Whose life? Your life, and the lives of the people around you, and leave a legacy of love for future generations. The best way to learn quickly and to retain it is when you hear the words and see the words at the same time. On this show, what I'll be able to do is what's called like a sample plate, where I give you like a little bit of each stage so that you can begin to get a comprehension and learn something for yourself, because I'm going to kind of go quickly. In order to cover this material, I'm going to speak a little bit faster, move through this so that you can get as much of the 12 stages as possible. So the 12 stages of romantic relationship began with the realization that the idea of wise and honorable men had vanished into the past in my own lifetime. I realized as a child that grew up in the 50s and then was a teenager during the 60s, at a time where in the Western cultures there was a shift in the polarity between men and women, and women began fighting for equality in the workplace. And in doing so, they accomplished that, and I think that that's a great thing. There were several mistakes that were made in what I call a huge social experiment, and that is that we began to get the idea that men and women were the same, that they were equal. Now, at the workplace, it's true that they have equal abilities in some areas, yes, but men and women are not equal. There are things that women are far better at than men, and there are things that men are far better at than women. And so the idea that they were equal was a misinterpretation of the facts. Men and women are not equal. When they begin to think that they are equal, then women become uncomfortable being feminine and treated as women, and men begin to feel uncomfortable as men. As a man, I realized that the other men in my life were not comfortable in their masculinity, and that we began to lose our core connection with an interior wisdom that men just naturally have, and that men became viewed as shallow and passionless and incapable of intimacy, and that young women and men no longer felt free to act naturally. Young women were surrendering their most fertile years in shallow relationships with men who were still clinging to their mothers. Men and women began to have relationships that were very shallow. They were no longer the idea of wise and honorable men having faded into history, faded into the background. It became the popular modality of the day to consider men to be sort of idiots. Nothing could be further than the truth. Now, do men act like idiots? And do men do idiotic things? You bet they do. In fact, some of the wisest, most honorable men I've ever met have done many stupid and idiotic things in their past, and that did not keep them from being wise and honorable men. But men do stupid things, I'll grant you that. But it became the modality of the day to begin to talk about men and treat men as if they were just idiots or stupid or incapable or shallow. And men began to think of themselves like that as well. Women not wanting to have relationships with shallow men Later, they began to clutch desperately for marriage as their youthfulness and their fertility was passing. Women no longer were cherished as a source of love and inspiration, and men were no longer respected as leaders, thinkers, providers, and protectors. And it's been the historic place of men and women to cherish women and children, to protect and provide for women and children. And it was an honorable way to live their life. And men were considered honorable and respected by their acts of nobility as they demonstrated their leadership, their profound thinking, as they would provide and protect society and women and children. There's a huge difference between masculine and feminine energy. And I want to be really clear here. I'm not being sexist in what I'm saying. When I say men or women, I'm really saying masculine energy and feminine energy. So I just want to clear that up from the start, okay? It is very possible, of course. Many of us know women, for example, that are very masculine in their thinking and in their habits and in their ways of being. And we know men who, although they are men, they could be very feminine in their habit, thinking, their attitudes towards life. When I'm speaking of manhood or womanhood, I'm speaking of masculine energy and feminine energy. I'm not necessarily using the words man and woman in a sexist, I'm not using it in a sexist way. I'm using it to describe a particular type of energy, and I want to distinguish masculine energy from feminine energy so it's really clear for you too. Now, we all have masculine energy and we all have feminine energy. Regardless of what kind of body you're in, you have masculine and feminine energy. Masculinity is about doing. It's about focusing on something and getting something done. So when you're in that kind of energy, when you're in the kind of energy that's intervening in life, that's focused outward and making something happen, that's a masculine part of your personality, regardless of whether you're male or female. In traditional cultures, in all cultures really, masculinity is not something that's granted. Masculinity is established in the presence of other men. Women cannot confirm male masculinity. Only other men can do that. So throughout history, it has been a practice of tribes and cultures throughout the world, and in studies of over 157 different cultures that had initiation processes for young men, boys to men, to initiate boys into manhood, realizing that male energy was aggressive, its male sexuality was nomadic, meaning that we wander around, we want to have sex with this one and then this one and then this one. So male sexuality was polygamous, if you would. That they realized in all of these cultures that if they did not have an initiation to train boys, to initiate boys into an honorable expression of masculinity, that they could later become toxic to society and that the whole society begins to collapse. Women and children lose their honorable men in their families, and so ultimately the structure of society begins to wobble and then collapse. So masculinity or manhood, when granted by the older, wiser men of the tribe or culture, was based on a man's action. They weren't based on whether the fact that he grew up or he got tall, or that he was strong or hairy, or that he had passed through puberty. It was based on what he did. So they gave him a set of actions to accomplish, to show his masculinity, to show that he could be responsible for his own life and for the lives of others. Masculinity is based on a man's action, and a rite of passage is a necessary part for all societies in order to initiate boys to men. Feminine energy, on the other hand, is entirely different. Feminine energy is about being. It's not about doing. It's not about focusing out in the world and accomplishing something. Feminine energy is about being. Like the egg descends the fallopian tubes, like the egg which awaits to be impregnated, the feminine energy is about being attractive. It's about attracting energy from the outside and being something that is very attractive. There is no rite of passage that is required for a girl to become a woman beyond a recognition that she's past puberty and that she's now capable of producing children. Beyond that recognition, which is usually, they don't make a big deal out of it. They just kind of like acknowledge it amongst the women, but no particular rite of passage has been traditionally imposed on girls to declare them into womanhood. The other thing is that women and children are lovable simply because they exist. Think about it. We love the beauty and innocence of women and children simply because they are. Now think about it. If a man just bees, if a boy just sits there and bees, and is just being a boy, does that attract anybody? Not necessarily. It doesn't attract respect. It doesn't attract nobility or the recognition of other men. Again, masculinity is something that is gained and granted because of someone's actions or doing in the world. The feminine energy is simply a manifestation of an inner state of being that is manifested in the world and is lovable and adorable simply because it exists, because she shares her femininity with the world. Now, here's an interesting point that a lot of people don't really realize, but is widely known amongst those who think about these things, and that is that the heart of a woman is masculine. At the heart of a woman's soul is a steely, strong man. Just try to mess with her children and you'll find out. And at the heart of a man is a very fragile, sensitive, and delicate being. So the heart of a man is feminine and the heart of a woman is masculine. And that's what's symbolized by these yin and yang system that you see in Taoism. In Taoist understanding or philosophy, it is understood that they are actually just two parts of the same whole. In fact, to be a whole being, as is symbolized in the symbol you see on your screen, means to have both masculine and feminine and have them balanced within yourself. So a whole human being is both masculine and feminine, with the heart of a woman and the heart of a man. Let's talk about the actual 12 stages. The first stage is what I call intentional flirting. Now, everybody's flirting all the time. You learned to flirt before you could talk, you were a baby. You learned to flirt with your eyes and your face and little gestures to get people to go, ooh, ah, and to feed you, to come and take care of you. Even little animals, I have little puppy dogs, they flirt, okay? Babies flirt. So we've been flirting forever. It's one of the first ways of communicating that we established long ago. I'm talking about intentional flirting as opposed to the random and capricious flirting that people are doing all the time anyhow, which is just good fun, actually a good exercise. Now, you may be surprised to hear that I think that it's healthy to flirt, that it's healthy whether you're married or not married, whether you're single or not. It's good to know where your boundaries are. I'm not talking about flirting that leads to something that's inappropriate or dishonorable or disrespectful or that doesn't keep within the boundaries of your agreements in your relationship. I'm talking about the healthy, normal flirting where people appreciate each other, they acknowledge each other, they smile at each other, they compliment each other. That's all flirting, and that's quite normal. That aside, we're going to talk about intentional flirting. I want to talk about the fact that eye contact, like straight on eye contact, where you look right into somebody else's eyes, is an essential aspect of initiating sexual contact. It is a very sensual thing to do, to look into somebody's eyes and to just be with them and to actually allow them to see into your eyes. Now, most people today can't even begin to deal with that, and there are some cultures where it's often considered impolite to look into somebody's eyes or downright dangerous. In initiating sexual intimacy, an essential aspect of that is eye contact. If you can't make eye contact, then you're going to probably have a very superficial relationship. Sustained eye contact is a sexually arousing trait that transcends all cultures. It's beyond words. It doesn't even matter if you speak the same language. If you look deeply into someone's eyes and allow them to look into yours, you will have a sensual and intimate connection with them. It'll be established. Now, I'm not talking about a staring contest where you can see who can stare the longest before one of you blinks. I'm not even talking about that. But I am talking about how humanoids, human beings, and all advanced primates use eye contact. All mammals and advanced primates use eye contact as a way of establishing a connection with someone. We have developed, as human beings, are the most sophisticated animal on the planet at being able to ascertain, to be able to distinguish, like in an instant, what somebody's about by simply looking deeply into their eyes and allowing them to look into yours. You can figure out a whole lot about people if you allow yourself to do that. And in many ancient traditions, prolonged eye contact was used as an access to spiritual transcendence. So intentional flirting, the masculine pursues and the feminine attracts. All too often these days, the woman is going after the man, and the man is being the receptive one. Well, ladies, all that does is put him in a position of saying yes or no, or playing a game called, here's my card, call me. Do not call men. Don't go after men. Don't pursue men unless you want a feminine man and you want to be the masculine partner in that relationship. Because whoever pursues the other one is the masculine one. Because men, masculine men, are hunters. They see what they want and they go get it. That's a masculine trait. If you're a woman and you're going after men, you're being the masculine one, and you're requiring him to he has two choices. Either he stays in his masculinity and he rejects you, because two things the same push away. Think of a magnet. Two poles of a magnet, north and south. The north and south attract. If you put two norths together, they push away. Two souths together, they push away. But if you put a north and a south together, they attract. You put a masculine and a feminine together, they will attract each other. And it's perfectly fine, ladies, if you want to be the masculine one and attract a feminine guy, then that's great. That's fine. However, one caveat, don't expect him to be financially successful. Don't expect him to want to take care of you and protect you. And don't expect him to compete with other men to win your love, because you're going to have to compete with other women to win his love, because you're the masculine one. A lot of masculine women pursuing feminine men, and again, I want to change that. I would like to see, for the success and the longevity of future relationships, I would like to see the men be the masculine ones. So the masculine energy speaks first. If you're out flirting and you make eye contact with somebody, the masculine energy, it's up to wants to be the masculine one to walk over and say, hello, how are you? My name's so-and-so. Would you like to have a drink or dance, or would you like to, can I take you out? Will you marry me? Whatever it is, okay? Masculine men are hunters. They want to be respected. They do not want to be pursued. Some of the ways that women have been pursuing men in these last few decades is by initiating the conversation in the first place. The woman will go over to the man and start talking to him, or giving him more gifts than he gives you. You know, I think it's great. Men want to take care of women, they give them gifts. And I think it's great that women want to give gifts to men. However, you should always be giving him one for every 10 that he gives you, or for every 5 or 6 that he gives you. Don't be giving men more gifts than he's giving you. The other thing is by going Dutch or paying for yourself when you're out together. If a man is going to take you out and go on a date, he should ask you out. He should call you, ask you out, and then he should offer to pay for things. This way he's demonstrating his willingness and ability to be a masculine provider and protector. If you want to be the feminine essence in a relationship, then you want to have a masculine man who will be a provider and a protector. So don't go Dutch and then calling him or going by his house when he withdraws. A lot of times guys will go out and then later they'll withdraw, they won't call for a few days, or they'll go off and do something else, and then women will start calling and pursuing them. And so one of the ways that women become the masculine essence in a relationship is by pursuing men after he withdraws, leaving your stuff at his house, taking care of his feelings at the cost of your own. You tell him how you feel, and then he says, oh, well, I feel even more bummed out or worried or sad or angry or whatever. So when a woman shares her feelings and a man makes his feelings more important than yours, and you then take care of his feelings, you're literally being like a mother to him. You're saying, oh, never mind about my feelings. Your feelings are the most important. So let's take care of your feelings. In intentional flirting, you're going to look him straight in the eye for 5 full seconds. You're going to smile sweetly, and then you're going to look away. So when you look at a man for 5 full seconds and then smile and look away, you're showing him 3 things. Basically, you're showing him that A, you're friendly, B, you're approachable, and C, that you're interested in him. So you're friendly, you're approachable, you're interested in him, and if you look at him for only 3 seconds, remember I said 5 seconds, and that can seem like an eternity, but if you look at him for only 3 seconds, you're going to show him 3 things as well. You're going to tell him, without words, I've seen you looking at me, I know you're interested, and I'm not interested, so don't bother. So ladies, you have to have the courage and the wherewithal to be able to use this powerful eye contact in order to make the initial contact with men, in order to be the attractive one. I'm going to pick up the pace a little bit. Stage 2 in romantic relationships after intentional flirting is dating. And dating's never intended to be a long, drawn-out thing. It's a temporary stage. You know, there's a lot of people that they tell me, well, we're engaged. And when I find out that they've been engaged for 2 or 3 years, I realize, no, you know what? You're dating. You're just dating. So dating is an essential part of creating the foundation of a long-term committed relationship. You can't just skip over dating and get engaged and then get married. If you do, guess what's going to happen? And this is true in any one of these 12 stages. Write this down. If you skip a stage in the 12 stages of romantic relationship, you're going to go back 2 stages minimum. So if you skip over dating, the next stage, which I'll tell you in a minute, which is negotiating and then engaging, there's several stages before actually marrying. And if you skip over them, guess what? You get to go back to dating. Eventually, that's what's going to happen. Go through these stages. Build your house on a foundation that is sound, that is stable, having gone through each stage, because each stage naturally evolves into the next stage. And the next stage in dating doesn't include sex. You may have some sensual, sexual interchanges, but it doesn't involve sex. And by sex, I mean any kind of exchange of body fluids. I'm just going to say it like that. If you're having sex, then you're not dating. You've skipped a stage. It doesn't include exclusivity. In other words, dating means you're dating maybe 2 or 3 people at the same time. Dating is just dating. You're going out, you're having dinner, watching movies, you're holding hands, you're learning social skills. You're learning how to interact with people. And it can be romantic, but that's why it doesn't include sexuality. You know, if you were going to go and buy a house to live in, or a car, something that was an investment of your life savings, wouldn't you go try out several of them? Wouldn't you go and visit several homes? And you'd walk through and you'd get the brochure and you would maybe go back at night and see what it looked like with the lights off. And, you know, you would check out the house. You would find out about the foundation and who built it and how long it's been there and maybe the previous owner. You would learn things, and that's what dating is for. Dating is for learning things, investigating things about the person you're going out with. And so that's why I suggest that you go out with more than one. And I'm going to tell you why. Because going out with one person exclusively is very much like being married. If they don't call, or if they go out with someone else, you feel like you've been cheated or betrayed. You're always waiting for them to call because they're the only person in your life that you've focused any kind of romantic energy on. So dating, again, it doesn't include sex, it's not about exclusivity, and it's not about getting somewhere, trying to get someplace. You know, a lot of people are dating so that they can get to the next stage. No, dating is about dating, and so what there is to do when you're dating is learn about it. And here's some of the things that you're going to learn. For women, she's finding out, does he open the door? Does he pay for dinner? Or does he want to go Dutch every time? Does he bring her little flowers and gifts? In other words, is he a gentleman? Does he show up dressed like a gentleman, or does he show up dressed like a jerk? And when he goes out with you and he takes you out and you've had a nice evening and you felt that connection, does he call and say, hey, thank you for going out with me. That was very nice. I look forward to seeing you again. Or does he just disappear for a month or two? These are the kind of things that she's looking for. She's looking for, if you're dating and you're a lady and you're looking for a mate, you're looking for, is he a gentleman? Is he even qualified to be considered a mate for me? Or is he disqualified because he shows up like a jerk, he always wants to go Dutch, he doesn't act like a gentleman around me and in my presence or with me, and he never calls? I would say disqualified. He's not qualified. He's not ready to be in a relationship, and he's telling you with his actions. Some more things that she's finding out. Does he show up on time? If he says, am I coming at 8? Does he show up at 8:45, or does he show up at 8 or even 7:45? You know, is he on time? Is he kind to other people? How does he treat waiters, valets, the doorman, friends, children, animals? How does he treat others? Is he flirting and making eye contact with other women while he's with you? Is he stingy with his money and his time? You know, he talks about how much money he's got and but then you see that he doesn't tip very well when he tips the waiter, or that he's always trying to save a buck here or there. You walk 5 blocks and park in a bad neighborhood because he's too cheap for valet parking. You know, that kind of stuff. So is he stingy with his money and time? How is he around children? You know, a lot of guys say, oh yeah, I love children, I'd like to have kids someday, but then when kids are around, watch how he acts with them. Do kids like him? Does he like kids? And does he make you laugh? When you're going out, ladies, when you're going out with a man, it's important that he makes you laugh. Laughter is like a mini orgasm, really. It's a release of joyous energy. And does he have the ability to cause you to laugh? Is he a funny guy? Any humor in this guy, or is he serious all the time? Next, in stage 2, in dating, some of the things that a man is looking for when he takes a woman out, he's looking to see, do I want to see her again? And honestly, it's something that we kind of make up our mind about pretty quickly. You kind of know in your gut, is it somebody I really want to see again? So you're looking for that. Am I sexually attracted to her? Because she could have the greatest personality in the world, but you're kind of looking to see, do I eventually want to have sex with her? Because men are looking for that. Does she babble on forever until I can't wait to get away from her? Or is it hard to leave her? So these are the things that men are looking for. He's trying to find out if she's interested in the things that I like. Maybe the guy likes to go camping and hang gliding or being out in nature or something, and she only likes the opera and going to fine restaurants and traveling in 5-star hotels and stuff like that. So maybe they might not connect in some way. If she says, no, I could never go camping or something like that, then maybe there's disconnect there. So he's looking for that. He's thinking, some of this is my humor. Does she want to have sex with me? Is she respectful or bossy? Is she a happy person or moody? Or is she self-involved? Is she ever going to have sex with me? Does she care about me? Or does she just want to marry someone? Does she care about me? Or does she just want to marry someone? And is it about money? Or is it about love? Do I feel powerful when I'm around her? Do I feel, like more of a man? Do I feel taller and stronger and smarter? Or do I feel drained and stupid and can't wait to get out of there? And, I wonder if she'll have sex with me. The third stage is courting in the 12 stages of romantic relationship. And in courting, there's a conversation to be had, and it goes like this. We've been seeing each other for about 3 months now, and I would like to know where this is going. Now, it's been my experience that it's usually the lady that initiates this conversation. A number of anthropological reasons for that and biological reasons for that, but for the moment, since we're going on the short, condensed version of the 12 stages, I'm going to just say that it is pretty much the place of the woman to ask that question. And just a brief overview of the reasons. You have a biological time clock that is running out for about 20 years between the ages of 20 to 40. You can pretty much get any unmarried man if you're attractive, even remotely attractive, some guy's going to be attracted to you. And if you're attractive and you're young and fertile, and then you're going to be able to get just about any man to want to be with you. And your job is to leverage this attractiveness into a long-term situation. And if you haven't done that by the age of 40, then your chances of that happening diminish rapidly. Most men, even though they may be well over their 40s, are looking for a woman in that age group if they're going to start a relationship. So you want to know, is this a 90-day fling or potentially a long-term thing? What are we talking about here? And so it's time to initiate that conversation about 3 months into a relationship. That's enough time. If 1 year from now you've been dating someone and you've never had that conversation, then I would suspect that they are a lack of commitment on both people's part. There's no commitment to go further. The conversation that's in the background is, I'm going to just use you until something better comes along. That's the game you're playing, and nobody's saying it, but that's the game you're playing. If you're dating for 2 or 3 years and there's no commitment or even a conversation to have a longer, lifelong relationship, then really, what are you doing? There's 3 things that you want to be negotiating when you have that conversation, and it's longevity, continuity, and exclusivity, or monogamy. Longevity means, are we going to have a long-term committed relationship? What do you see 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now? How does that look to you in terms of this relationship? That's what you're talking about. You're talking about, is this something that's going to be continuous? Or is it going to be, well, I'm going to leave for a year or 2 and then come back, or I've got to go to school for 2 or 3 years and then maybe we'll talk about it later? That's not continuity. Continuity means, and it's not like let's see each other every 3 months or, once a year I'll travel to wherever you are. That is not continuity. Continuity means you're seeing the person on a very regular basis for a long period of time. That's longevity and continuity. That's how relationships get built. Long-term relationships on the internet are not what I would call dating or courting, because you're not seeing the person, smelling them, touching them, sharing food with them, all of the things that create being together. And exclusivity. At this stage in the game, courtship, when you change from dating, which is non-exclusive, to courtship, then you're talking about monogamy. You're saying, I am not going to see anybody else. You're the one, and I request that you don't see anybody else. And if you do, that's a deal breaker. You just broke our deal. You're putting your faith and trust in someone and saying, I'm going to give you all of my time and attention and affection, and I request the same from you. Anybody else in this business, then we're not courting anymore. Okay, we're back to dating multiple partners again. In this stage, it's appropriate to find out if your mate, you or your mate, is qualified for a long-term committed relationship. Without one of these things, it's a deal breaker. You're looking for three things: polarity, which is passion or chemistry. In other words, is there a north and a south? Are you attracted to each other? You want to be with somebody that makes you feel good, makes you feel like a man, makes you feel like a woman. So is polarity or passion there? Communication, and by that I mean heartfelt, honest, complete communication, not the kind where you have to drag it out of them. You love being with each other, and there's a lot of communication going on. You feel free with each other to talk about things. And compatibility, and I'm going to just address the compatibility for really quickly. Compatibility, if you look it up in the dictionary, simply means two parts, two disparate things, two things that are not the same, that work together in a harmonious fashion with no change or alteration required. That means you don't have to change to be with him or her, and they don't have to change to be with you. It means two things that are different working together with no change or alteration required. Okay, so that's what compatibility means. And you're looking for those three things in courtship. If any one of those things are missing, let's say you have great communication and great sex, but you're incompatible in either geographically or some other way, religiously, geographically, your values don't match, then it's like leaving for an island on a boat that does not have enough gas to get there. Why would you do that? Because you are destined to run out of steam before you get to the end of your life. So it's just a question of time. If any one of those three things are missing, you're headed for a short-term relationship. Okay, stage 3 courting. Feminine says, I feel. Cherish me. Underlying conversation, the meta conversation, if you will, the conversation that bridges all the other conversations, ultimately is the feminine is saying, I feel this, I feel that, I have feelings, please cherish me. And the masculine is saying, I think, I do, please respect. I think, I do, I protect, I provide, I do this, I do that. I'm thinking, okay, please respect my thinking. And she's saying, please cherish my feelings. 4th stage, engagement. Now you've gone through all of these other stages, flirting and dating and courtship, before you get to something called engagement. And I call it engaging, okay, because the ing at the end of the word indicates that it is an ongoing process. You are engaging. Engagement is like a noun. It's like a thing. I have an engagement, right? It's a thing. Whereas an engaging is an ongoing process, okay? It's a verb. And engaging, because you're engaging for a conversation for monogamy, longevity, future, family, and marriage. So you're engaging in a conversation. You are, she is, your families are engaging in a conversation. And engaging also, like courtship and like dating, has an expiration date. There's a time limit to it. Like all good things, they eventually have a cycle, a beginning, a middle, and an end. People that have been engaged for 5 years aren't engaged. They're still courting. They're not really engaged. You may have a ring, but you don't have a date. So there is a stage that's between engaging and married. And I'm going to get to that in just a second. How you know you're engaged is that you have a date and a ring, okay? You have a ring that symbolizes, you have a physical symbol of that engagement, and you have a date by when you will be married. Hopefully you have a location, because all reality exists in space and time. If you're not spending money and it's not in your calendar, it's not happening, okay? It's a dream. It's something you're talking about. You're still engaging. But an engagement is when you have a ring and a location, a date by when. Okay, it means you're spending money and time and energy causing this marriage thing to happen. You're past this sort of courtship stage, and now there's another stage, and you don't want to go to this stage until you have that ring and that location. Okay, now you go to this stage because everything could fall apart in this stage. I've got about 3 minutes to tell you about it, so I'm not going to be able to tell you the whole thing. But that's called negotiating. And in negotiating, you are going to be talking about money, sex, and free time. My wife's book called Girl Talk, which you'll find online at embracegrowth.com, she put in a copy of a marriage contract that she and I worked on for about 6 hours. One day we went to a restaurant in Santa Barbara, we sat down, and we created this marriage contract in which we talked about money. Whose money? What money? How? What are we going to do with money? How much money is needed? All that kind of stuff. Where are we going with money? We talked about sex, how much, when, who's going to initiate, what kind, all that kind of stuff. We talked about money and sex and free time, because free time can be very expensive. Yeah, you could go on $20,000 vacation, or free time could be spending a good time at the movies, down at the local theater, and walking around at the farmer's market with your tennis shoes on, okay? Free time is very important. It can be very, the one thing that you can't get back is time. You can always get more money. If your health goes bad, you can work and get your health back. A lot of things you can get back, but one thing that you can never get back is time. So you want to negotiate about your free time, how you're going to spend it, who you're going to spend it with, family, things like that. Because marriage is a deal. It involves the local, state, and federal government. It involves banks, loans, real estate. Sex involves, how much, how often, what kind. And don't assume that you agree on this just because you may have had some and you liked it. Okay, it doesn't mean that it's always going to be that way. And free time can be like I said, can be very expensive or wasted. How are you going to spend your time alone? How much time do you need with your friends? And you need time together and you need time alone. And how much time are you going to spend on your working and on vacation? So for those of you who are watching the show, I'd appreciate it if you'd write to me. I'm at Gregory at embracegrowth.com. You can write to me. I'd appreciate your ideas and feedback on this show, what you think about the 12 stages of romantic relationship. And for those of you who can't wait to find out the next 6 stages, then I recommend that you, while you're at embracegrowth.com, just go ahead and buy the CD. That's it for the show today. I appreciate you watching. Thank you for your time. It's a pleasure and honor, as always, to be here on Love Talk. My name is Gregory Morgan, and I'll see you back here next week.
سمینار جذاب از بی‌یار بودن تا دلدادگی توسط خانم دکتر آزیتا سایان. با این سمینار متفاوت مخصوص مجردین و متأهلین دوباره عاشق شوید.
برای خودتون روی ورقه بنویسید که هدف من اگر میخوام این سمینار رو برم، هدفی که میخوام بهش برسم و تاریخی که میخوام به اون هدف برسم کیه. و بعد همین الان این بلیط رو تهیه کنید، به خاطر که به سرعتی که اون بلیط رو تهیه میکنید به سرعت رسیدن به اون هدف نزدیک میشید. سر موقع بیاید توی صندلیتون برای این سمینار بشینید، توی سمینار نوت بردارید و مو به مو اون چیزایی که تو اون سمینار میشنوید رو برید و اجرا بکنید و ببینید زندگیتون چه میشه و اون هدف چقدر به سرعت اتفاق میفته.
دابل تری هیلتون سانتا مونیکا لس آنجلس 10 جون و آگاخان میوزیم تورنتو 9 جولای 310 460 2600 embracegrowth.com. یک مرد منحصر به فرد، مسلط، متمرکز، قابل اعتماد و رضایتمند باشید. کارگاه شرافت، عزت کلام و مهارت به رهبری دکتر آزیتا سایان. ایروان ارمنستان 15 تا 17 آگوست، تورنتو 20 تا 22 سپتامبر، اروپا 18 تا 20 اکتبر. 310 460 2600. اپلیکیشن امبریس گروث. با ساختن اکانت شخصی شما می توانید وارد پروفایل خود شده و تنظیمات آن را تغییر دهید. به تمامی رویدادها و محصولات دسترسی داشته باشید. با چند کلیک برای سمینارها و کارگاه‌ها ثبت نام کنید و یا وقت مشاوره خود را رزرو نمایید. اپلیکیشن امبریس گروث را امروز از اپ استور دانلود کنید و به خانواده جهانی امبریس گروث بپیوندید. در کارگاه‌های آموزشی بانوان به رهبری دکتر آزیتا سایان با دستیابی به اهمیت و ارزش واقعی خود، قدرت زنانگی و آرامش خود را بازیابید. تورنتو 15 تا 17 مارچ، اروپا 26 تا 28 آپریل، ایروان ارمنستان 31 اکتبر تا 2 نوامبر، لس آنجلس 13 تا 15 سپتامبر. 310 460 2600. سمینار جذاب از بی‌یار بودن تا دلدادگی توسط خانم دکتر آزیتا سایان.
اگر ازدواج کردید و رابطه اونجوری که دلتون میخواد گرم و صمیمی و پر از عشق نیست، اگر در قسمتی از رابطتون هستین که فکر میکنین میخواید اقدام به جدایی بکنید، نکنید، بیاید این سمینار، بعدن چیزایی رو که تو این سمینار میشنوید برید و در رابطتون پیاده بکنید، بعدن تصمیم جدی بگیرید. در هر مقطعی که هستید واقعا بهتون توصیه میکنم که این سمینار خاص رو از دست ندید. به جرئت میتونم بگم بهترین سمیناریه که خودم تا حالا روش کار کردم.
با این سمینار متفاوت مخصوص مجردین و متأهلین دوباره عاشق شوید. دابل تری هیلتون سانتا مونیکا لس آنجلس 10 جون و آگاخان میوزیم تورنتو 9 جولای. 310 460 2600 embracegrowth.com.